Did you know the actions taken in the initial minutes of an emergency are very critical? September is National Preparedness Month, and the Department of Health is here to teach us about the importance of being prepared for emergencies and national disasters. Joining us is emergency planner Justen Hauser. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we just teased it. Why are the initial minutes of a disaster so critical?
Well, I think you need to determine as quickly as possible how big is big and how bad is bad. That way you know how to respond appropriately.
What disasters do you think people, it's hard to prepare for disasters. What do they need to just have just a basic plan in place?
Well, the main program that the Department of Health tries to emphasize is the Ready in 3 program. Now, this is endorsed by the American Red Cross, the State Missouri Management Agency, and it focuses on 3 main steps. Step 1 is to make a plan. Now, this will include information such as contact information. It's going to have locations for your family to meet in the event of an emergency. Step 2 is going to be create a kit. This is going to be some items that you want to gather to be ready for an emergency. You'll want to have water. You'd like to have shelf-stable food, maybe a flashlight, a battery-powered radio, things like that. Step 3 is listen for more information. Local governments and states spend a lot of time coming up with emergency plans, and you'll want to be able to receive that message and listen for instructions.
Do different disasters, should they prepare differently? Say, in our area, we deal with a lot of tornadoes, maybe power outages or floods. How do people prepare for maybe different styles of disasters?
So we like to focus on all hazards planning, and that's one plan that can translate to many different emergencies. So that's why that Ready in 3 program is very simple, but it can apply to a wide range of emergencies.
And, bitter heat, cold are the ways that they can prepare for that?
Yes. We like to plan ahead. You want to make sure that you have plenty of food and water, make sure you have a way to shelter in place, maintain the temperature in your home. You'd also want to have good contact information in case you needed to reach out to family or other loved ones to let them know that you were safe and you were okay during an emergency.
Now, it might be harder for someone who lives like in an apartment or something. In homes, there may be a basement to get to if there's a severe storm or a tornado. Is it harder, or do you recommend anything for the people that live in apartments or places that don't have a lot of easy access to maybe emergency places to go?
Sure, there are subtle differences that you might want to take into account if you lived in an apartment complex instead of just a home. But you also want to check on your neighbors. Maybe you're safe in a disaster, but there might be folks next door that you might want to check on and make sure that they're safe. You might want to plan ahead before an emergency and locate safe places in your apartment complex. Come up with an escape plan for your apartment complex and just familiarize yourself with what you would do in an emergency before that emergency happens.
Now, do you also deal with businesses, say like hospitals and stuff? Do you try to do an awareness where making sure they test their systems? Because electricity is very important for a hospital. If the power goes out, a major storm, it may cost lives. So is there something that businesses or places like that can do?
We definitely coordinate with businesses, with hospital systems. It's kind of a give and take, though. We don't want to tell them what to do. We just want to help them be able to do what they want in an emergency response. So hospitals will develop their own plans, large businesses will develop their own plans, but we'll definitely meet and work with them to make sure we can all achieve the same goal during an emergency response.
So it is kind of required, right? They have to have a fire hydrant on hand, I believe. Is there any other requirements a business may need in the case of an emergency?
So there's definitely codes that they need to comply with. And then there's also some corporate responsibility that large businesses like to take on themselves because it's just smart. The faster they can get back to normal operations, the faster they can serve their customers, the faster they can serve their community, and it's just a much shorter time to get back to that pre-disaster state of operations.
Right. We'll definitely be talking more about the Preparedness Month. It's very important. So stay with us here at STL Live. We'll learn more about the City of St. Louis Department of Health right after this break.